Ronnie Robinson. So we're going to be going through a few questions, and everybody will have an opportunity to see what they've got to say. All right? We will be joined by our moderator, who will preside over the forum. Goodness, it's raining hard. The moderator is a retired Navy captain. He is a former congressional candidate for District 4 and the national spokesman for We Can Be Heroes Foundation, Mr. Ryman Schoaf.
Thank you for that, Karen. I do appreciate that. Okay, so before we get started, I'm just going to go over a couple rules here. It's up to you whether or not you wanted to follow the rules, but I would strongly advise you to follow the rules. As a moderator, I will pose the questions for you. I will give you a heads up if you are first to answer that question so that you're just not surprised, when I'm done reading the question and now you're up for that question, so I'll do that. I'll also tell you the time limit that you have to answer that question. Our timekeeper right here is Travis. At 15 seconds prior, he will give you the 15-second sign. Okay, when your time is up, he'll wave Old Glory. And if you keep going, you're going to get the dreaded cowbell. It sounds worse than that if you go over. Just to give you a heads up that, okay? You are here to convince the Clay County voters of why they should vote for you. We hope that you'll stick with that you will convince them to vote for you and not try to convince them not to vote for the people that are running against you. If you do take a direct personal swipe at the other individual, then that individual will get 30 seconds to rebut to whatever you've said to them. But again, we'd like to reiterate, we hope that you want to convince the voters to vote for you, not vote against the other individual. Even though I'm the person asking you the questions, you're not answering me. I'm just here as a moderator. So we'd ask that when you answer the question, answer as if the audience is here, because the camera in the back is going to be focused on you, and it's best that you look at the camera, not just turn toward me. Also, if I ask the question and it's your turn to answer and you want the question to be asked again, we're here for you. I'll ask the questions as many times as you want until you get the time to do the answer. It won't affect the time if I reread the question. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is start with a 2-minute open. Mr. Robinson said that it was appropriate that ladies should go first. So Mrs. Hutchinson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Captain. Well, I'm happy to be here today. My name is Diane Hutchings, and I am running for tax collector. Our tax collector, Jimmy Weeks, is retiring after 24 years of wonderful service. I have a background that I think suits me for the office. My first 12 years in banking, I started out as a teller, and there's a lot of cashiering that goes on when people come in to make payments in the office, so I'm very, very familiar with that. I also am very familiar with investments, and the monies that come in can be invested for short periods of time, and I'm very familiar with those products as well. I'll tell you that I'm also familiar with Clay County. Having served as a county commissioner in District 3 for the last 8 years, I've gotten a real sense of what's important to our county, what needs our county has, and what opportunities we have for growth in the future. I call opportunities because they are going to be challenges as well. So I think the next tax collector is going to have to work really hard to make sure that they maintain the quality of office that's there now and still be able to, with all the new residents, serve everybody efficiently and run the office in a way that gives folks a good experience when they come in. Let's face it, nobody likes to pay taxes. Again, my name's Diane Hutchings.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Hutchings. Now, Mr. Robinson, over to you.
I'd like to start off by thanking everybody for allowing us to come and speak today to the citizens of Clay County. My name's Ronnie Robinson. I have lived in Clay County for 48 years. I'm married, and my wife's name is Jane, of 54 years. I have 2 daughters, 5 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson. I am really blessed. I want to thank the people of Clay County have really been good to Ronnie Robinson the last 48 years. For that, I thank them. I'm here today because I'm here today to try to answer any questions that might be taking place with the citizens of Clay County, to give them the reason why they need to vote for me. In my mind, there's many reasons, and I thank you again for allowing me to come today.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move into the questions. Mrs. Hutchings, you'll answer the very first question. You'll have 2 minutes to address this. We know in your opening comments you talked about the organizations and your experience that you have to get you to this point. The question that was submitted to us, and you're allowed to expound on any of your experience in this particular question, but the question that was submitted to us is, what kind of organizations have you managed, and how were your management experience, and the key word here is style. What kind of style do you think you have to optimize services to the public and create a good working environment for the employees?
That's a great question. I have managed within the organization I'm in now a very small staff, and I have also, in my volunteer work, established a charter school where we have well over 75 employees. And as a manager, I would say first I'm a learner. So I like to go out, really dig deep, and educate myself on the opportunity. I've never been in education, and yet was able to open a charter school that is now an A school in Clay County, has 740 students this year, and well over 400 on our waiting list. So it's been very successful. For the people I work with, I'm not a micromanager. Like I said, I like to learn first. Then I like to be collaborative, and I think in collaboration with people, you always get a better product, and then empower people to go forward and to do their job and not be micromanaged. Then to come back and say what's working, what's not working, do we need to change anything? So that's my approach to management and to the way that I think my former experience would make me a good manager for the tax collector's office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, I'm a very hands-on, I have a very hands-on management style. Very big as far as this office goes. I think the first thing any of us need to bring to the office is remember we work for the citizens of Clay County and bring customer satisfaction. I have a lot of experience with this going back for 40 years. I've either been in management or owner of a dealership for at least for the past 40 years. While managing the dealership in Clay County and other places, we worked our way up as high as number 4 in the United States with Chrysler Corporation for customer satisfaction, which I'm very big on. I think this office I'm taking over is run very, very well. I'm not going into this office looking to make changes. I'm going into this office to look to make sure we have a dedicated workforce that will take care of the customers and handle their daily chores properly. It's imperative that you take care of the customer. What's even more imperative, if you get in there and if you do something wrong, what really straightens things out is what you do afterward. We all make mistakes. We made mistakes at even being up as number 4 in the country with Chrysler with customer satisfaction. But it's what you do after the mistake. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Hutchins?
You already
I did. I'm sorry.
repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
my apologies there. Okay. I'm sorry. It's easier when I got 10 people up here than just 2. Okay, my apologies there. On to the second question. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. Mr. Robinson, you will start first. Okay. What is your number one concern for the office of the tax collector, and how are you going to address it?
I'll be honest, I do not have a concern with the tax collector's office. This office has been ran for 24 years by Jimmy Weeks. I don't know of one time he's ever been in the news or any problem. One of the reasons for running this office is I'd like to keep it at the high level it's been run at for the past 24 years. Now, after getting into this office, if something comes up where I see that it can possibly be improved and run more efficiently, that's fine, we'll do that. I'm not going into this office I'm going to this office with open eyes, knowing that whoever takes over this office is very, very lucky, because they're going into an office that has been run very, very well with no need for any change unless you can find something after you get there to make it more efficient. Thank you.
Now, Mrs. Hutchings.
Thank you. Mr. Weeks has been very gracious and has allowed me to sit down for an hour with each one of the managers and directors in the office. And through that process, I think probably the biggest concern that the employees have for the future and that the office has for the future is going to be serving everyone in the future with the right facilities. We have an office at Bear Run that is in need of actually just being abandoned, and I think we should find another place that's more convenient and in better shape for the citizens and for our employees. We also have growth coming, so I think facilities and areas where there's going to be new clusters of population need to be looked at, and that's something that you want to start early looking at. The one facility we have in Orange Park on Park Avenue, they just signed a new 5-year lease, so we'll be there for at least 5 years. But I think all of the surrounding offices, Bear Run, Park Avenue, and Keystone, that all of them need to be looked at and see if they're in the right place, number one. And then number two, do we need an additional maybe 5th office in a different part of the county? So I'll be looking at those things right away. Thank you.
Okay. For our next question, Mrs. Hutchins, you will answer this first, okay? And you will have 2 minutes to respond.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson had already alluded to customer service, and we have a question about customer service. This individual said, let's talk about customer service. There are reports from the public of frustration when dealing with the tax collector's office, whether it's wait times or confusing instructions and requirements. The story that was submitted was that a father and a son went to get their license renewed. The son had his renewed. The father was told that there was a list of documents that he needed to bring. He goes home to get the documents, decided to go to another facility to get the license, and when he went to the second facility, even though he had what had been requested at the first, he was given a totally different list of the documents that he needed. So quite a bit of time of him trying to get his license, and he was confused of why his son could get it done, and yet there seemed to be 2 different offices who had 2 different requirements for the same license. So the question that is submitted here for you is, what are you going to do to make sure that the tax collection office, what are you going to do to improve the customer service and staff training to ensure that the same rules and procedures are followed across the various offices in Clay County?
Thank you. That's a very good question. And anytime you have a service provided, you're going to have times when maybe employees aren't trained, they may be new. So what I would begin with, right away, is to have a place for customers to give some feedback in the office. Very simple process. Just have a stack of papers in a holder that you can pull a sheet and give us immediate feedback, and then we can go through that, touch base with you personally, and make plans for how we can address that concern in the future, whether it happens once or whether it happens several times. It helps us to go back for quality control and look at how things are running in each of the offices.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, I understand that there can be a problem with any organization. If you wait on enough people, then every once in a while somebody slips up, and that's a shame. Of course, what you do, like I mentioned earlier, what you do after that takes place is what counts. This office, like I said again, is run very, very well. They do have chairs out there to sit down to be waited on. This office, actually, there's not a lot of leadway in this office. When the citizen comes in, most of them do not realize that most of the transactions that are taking place in this office are being done from the state by the legislature, and there's statutes that pertain to each one of them. You have to do this work by the statutes, and that's the only way you can do them. I'm sorry that an individual had to go to another office, and that's a shame. And I agree with what was said earlier about the nicer facilities. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, there's one facility that the BCC's been asked to improve, but they haven't been able to allocate money for it. That's about all I have to say.
Okay, for the next question, Mr. Robinson, you'll answer first.
Sure.
And you have a minute to answer this question. Tax collectors are required to get an insurance bond against errors. Is there any reason that you personally can't get this bond?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, tax collectors are required to get an insurance bond against any errors. Is there any reason that you know of that you wouldn't be able to get this bond?
No, there's no reason why I wouldn't be able to get a bond.
Okay, Hutchinson?
Thank you. No, there shouldn't be any reason. In banking, you have to be bonded, and even more so in the investment arena. I actually I have a securities license under FINRA and the SEC, and so they are very closely monitoring anything I do, and I've been bonded through them and have errors in emissions insurance, so I wouldn't see any problem with that.
Okay. For the next question, Ms. Hutchins, you will answer first. Okay. And you'll have 2 minutes.
Okay.
And in this question, what the individual is looking for is, what does the future of tax collection look like for you? Give us your vision, your plans, including technology, how you're going to implement that, especially considering the growth that's coming into our community.
Okay, that's a very good question with the growth that's coming. Another office that I visited was the Nassau County Tax Collector's Office, and it is run very efficiently. There's a lot of automation that can be brought to the office, and that pretty much involves software and some hardware, but mostly software for the office. There are the highest expenses, I guess is what I'm trying to say, would be for employees in any office, whether it's the sheriff's department, a hospital, the tax collector's office. The largest line item in your budget is going to be employees. So anything we can do in the future to automate things and make them easier and faster that requires less people means that the staff we currently have, hopefully as we grow, we wouldn't need to grow that staff as much, and that would save the taxpayers dollars as well as time, hopefully.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
My experience with technology, I've had to deal with it for many years being a dealer. And of course, Chrysler's always on the forefront with technology. Things do change. I mean, with computers. That's the main thing today is computers. Everything goes through a computer. Everything's stored on a computer, and everything can go back and be traced through the computer. The problem the tax collector has is anytime he has an innovative way or something he wants to change, he can't do anything unless he gets the Board of County Commissioners to approve it to put it in the budget. There's been some difficulty in the past as far as upgrading our facilities. Hopefully we'll be able to work with the commissioners and get this done in the future.
Okay. Okay.
Another question?
Next one coming up.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson, you will answer this one first, okay? And you'll get 2 minutes on this one. And this is in line with the previous question. So how will the continuing burgeoning growth of Clay County, how will that direct the needs of the tax collector's office?
Well, I would imagine like anything, if you're waiting on more people, you'll probably have to have more employees or either like Mrs. Hutching was saying earlier, upgrade a computer system or something. With growth, the only way you can take care of growth is might even in the future probably be outside our term of 4 years, but in the future you might even need another office. Right now, I think 3 offices are absolutely adequate for Clay County. In the future, if the growth keeps coming, you might need 4 offices. You might need, instead of 67 employees or 70 employees, you might need 80 employees. It's hard to say. Like I said, this office right now has been run fantastically, and what we'll do is as we approach this, every time something comes up, we will address it. What it will be in the future, you don't know until it happens.
Ms. Hutchings?
Thank you. Well, currently, this office has almost 500,000 transactions a year. It does a fabulous job with that. It collects over $230 million within a 1-year period. We have 4 locations, and they're pretty well spread out, and we have an agency budget of about $4.2 million. So in the future, I think you're going to see that we will have to make some investments in software and things like that. We may have to bring some people on, but not until we've looked to see what we can automate before we make those decisions. And in the people that we have in the office now, there's a collective 700 years of experience. So we do have a wonderful staff in the tax collector's office right now.
Could I add one thing to what I said earlier?
I'll let you use it in your 2-minute close. You can do it in your 2-minute close.
Okay.
So now this is a final question, and Ms. Hutchings, you will go first on the final question. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What this individual is looking for is, what is your relationship with the county commission? How will you work with them to get the funding needed for the tax collector's office, and how will you foster that relationship?
That's a very good question, and I'm very happy to answer it. I think it is critical that the tax collector have a very good working relationship, first with the county manager, because he's responsible for all of the facilities that the county owns, and the county owns our offices, the ones that we don't lease. So I can tell you that our current county manager and I have a very strong relationship, having worked together for over a year now. And also on the county commission, I was known to be a voice of reason, very logical, looked at the facts, and tried to keep emotions at bay. And even if I didn't agree with somebody, it didn't mean that I didn't like them or respect them, because I knew there would be more issues coming up, more opportunities to agree. So I think I would work very well with the county office, the county manager, and we're going to have 3 new county commissioners, but they're all folks that I know and am happy to work with.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
I feel like I have, to start with, I've known pretty much everybody's probably ever been on the county commission. I served 8 years as a commissioner myself. It's imperative that you have a working relationship with the commission, because, like I say, they do control the budget for the tax collector, because he has to take it then for approval. This office of the tax collector, or we was talking about earlier, with growth, the tax collector's office actually works off of fees. So, of course, with more growth, there'll be more fees. But it's imperative to have a good working relation with the county commission. If I'd have been on the commission, they'd have been able to upgrade the Bear Run office before now. Thank you.
Okay. That now ends the question portion of what we're trying to accomplish today. We appreciate your professionalism. Now we're going to move into the 2-minute close. And Ms. Hutchins, since you went first with the opening, Mr. Robinson will allow you to go first with your closing.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody listening to us today and the questions that were asked. I feel like I'm very well qualified to handle this office, being a dealer for 40 years or for 26 years with Chrysler. I've worked in my whole career mainly with tags, titles, collecting tax, insurance, license, and working with the Department of Motor Vehicles. I've done this for most of my adult career. It makes me probably 70% of the office that I'm running for, that's what takes place is what I just mentioned. There's other things that take place too. I was talking to somebody the other day where they had to take a person's driver's license because of age and some other problems. So there's things like that that come in. But 70% of this office is what I just mentioned takes place in. I'm very well qualified after working with Chrysler all these years, handling specifically those items I just mentioned. And with that, thank you again, and I thank everybody for Clay County for being so good to Ronnie Robinson, and that'll be all I have to say today. Thank you.
Mrs. Hutchings?
Okay, thank you. Well, I think tax collector's office should be responsible for 3 things. First of all, your bill and your transaction should be handled accurately. I call this my ACE plan. So A for accuracy. The next thing I think customers or taxpayers want is they want convenience. They want to be able to get in and get out. They want to be able to get there without having to go a long way. So we have 4 locations now. We have 67 employees, and we'll look for ways to automate and become more efficient, which is the E, efficiency. We have a budget of $4.2 million. Mr. Weeks has typically given back hundreds of millions of dollars each year to the county. He's been a very good steward, and that will continue. So if you vote for Diane Hutchings, you'll be voting for the ACE plan. And I want you to know that from day one, I will come in and look for ways to make your experience with a tax collector better. I will look for ways to help our employees enjoy their job, become even better equipped to carry out their job, and hopefully we'll continue to have a long succession of folks that make a career at the tax collector's office. I thank you so much for your vote. Remember Diane Hutchings on August the 18th. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our candidates for braving the weather and getting here today. Now this concludes our forum for our tax collector candidates. Don't forget that the Clay County voters can register and vote in our straw poll at tallyed.com. That's TALLYED.com. And all straw poll races are on our Liberty Caucus website. The user needs to click RLC straw poll in the My Ballot section of our homepage to see the ballot. And we'll also put this up on the event as well. We just want to remind you to please do that. Also, we have early voting for the primary starts in Clay County. This is on Thursday, August 6th, and Election Day is Tuesday, August 18th. Please vote. It's very important. And on behalf of the Republican Liberty Caucus, thank you for watching and for being that informed voter. This now completes this portion of our program.